Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. Today we will present to you about our data structure project, which is international archery competition. We have two objectives here. The first one is to obtain players name and players ID who are participate in international archery competition by using sequential search. Out of the three variations, we choose probability search. The second objective is to sort the player information by using either player's ID or player's total score by using simple selection sort.
So, our chosen searching algorithm for this project is sequential search, which is probability search. Before we jump really further into it, at first we must know what is sequential search is about. For number one, sequential search searches for an element in an array sequentially until the element is found. Number two, the search starts from first element until the last element. Number three, the sequential search is usually used whenever the list of data is not in an order. In general, we use this technique only for small lists or the lists that are not searched often. So, how it works? For this sequential search starts at the beginning of the list and continue until the target are found or at the end of the list. Next, there are three variations of the sequential search, such as sentinel search, probability search, and the ordered list search. So, we choose probability search is because probability search is used when an array is ordered with the most probable search at the beginning of the array and the least probable search at the end of the array. Second is to ensure the probability searching is correct over time. For example, in each search, we exchange the located element with the element immediately before it in the array. And lastly, for number three, this probability search takes time to get efficient result. That's all.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Now I will be talking about the search function in our program. In our program, we use search algorithm inside two distinct functions, which is search through player ID and search through player name. Now I will be talking about the general algorithm of the search function. First, we set the index to 0, then set found to false. After that, we use loop in order to scan through all the elements inside the array, and inside the loop, we have if-else statement. If the target is not in the current index, the index will be increased by 1 and the search will continue in the next index. If the target is in the current location, the target location will be stored inside a temp variable and the program will return found. Thus, the process of searching is completed. Next, I will be talking about the search function inside our program. I will start with the search by player ID. Firstly, we declare some variable ID search and we set found to false. Next, we have some output and input, and then we have the for loop. This indicates the search is starting. Inside the loop, we have an if statement. If the inserted player ID is found inside the array, the program will display the player with ID is found and the player information will be displayed. This loop will be repeated until the player ID is found. But if the player ID is non-existent, the program will display player with ID inserted is not found. This means the player is not exist inside the program. Thus, the search is done. Next is the search by player name function. Just like the other function, we start by declaring a variable name search, and then we set the found to false, and then we have some output and input, and then the for loop. Just like before, this indicates the search is starting. Inside the loop, we have an if statement. If the player name is inside the array and it is found, the player name will be displayed and the information about the player will be displayed. The program will return found and the search is completed. But if the player name is not exist inside the program will display the player with the name inserted is not found. Thus, the searching process is completed.
Okay, for searching process in our project, our group members was decided to use the selection sort. This selection sort is also known as simple sort. In general, sorting is a process of ordering or placing a list of elements from a collection in some kinds of order. Sorting techniques depends on two different situations. The first situation is time executions of program, which means the time taken for executions of program, and the second situation is space, which means the space taken by the program. In addition, sorting techniques differentiate by their efficiency and space requirement. Okay friends, what is the selection sort? A selection sort is the simple sorting algorithm which finds the smallest element in the array and exchange it with element in the first positions, and it continues until the entire array. The selection sort is the most fundamental and easiest concept of sorting is sorted. In addition, in selection sorts, the sorting sequence must be either in ascending or descending order.
Selection sort, sometimes also known as the simple sort. It has the precondition, which is there must be an array list with n elements stored inside the array list. And the process is it will sort the array list either by descending order or ascending order based on the user requirement. And the postcondition is the array list will be sorted. Next is the selection sort we use in our program, which is sort the player by using the total score. So first, the selection sort will go and find the highest total score obtained by player inside the array list, and then it will put the highest total score in front of the array list, which is index 0, and then followed by other total score. At last, the array list will be sorted by the player total score by descending order, which is from the highest to the lowest total score. For the next one, the selection sort we use in our program is sort by player ID. So first, the selection sort will go and find the largest player ID inside of the array list, and then it will put that player ID in front of the array list, which is index 0. So at last, the array list will be sorted by the player ID by descending order, which is from the largest player ID to the smallest player ID.